Yeah, mid-roll ads because it just started. Normally, because there haven't been any ads for them to be cancelled, I think. So, but anyway, I'm gonna run some manually. No, I'm surprised that there are pre-rolls. I thought it wouldn't by default since I just automatically put them. Oh, mid-roll. Yeah. I'm actually gonna put them. I usually run ads before it properly starts on purpose so that we don't really lose time. And I'm gonna do that right now, actually.
Who's that Pokemon?
Not gonna lie, I won't be surprised if this is gonna be a short one because I know that a lot of the people who were there last therapy session are currently in Atlanta, and I do have a few. I did get a few responses from the forums, but I feel like going through the forum is much quicker than straight up having the in-person, like the live therapy sessions, because there's the live ones at least allow some back and forth, which I think allows.
It's
Lunatone.
Yeah, so basically, I won't be surprised if it's a bit of a quick one for this one, because I know that a lot of people who were here last time are in Atlanta. Yeah, it is Ian Lutz. And yeah, I know that a lot of people who were there last time are currently in Atlanta, and the form is going to be much quicker to go through compared. Yo, Liam, hi. And thanks for the follow, Brian. Not gonna lie, well, I wonder what's gonna be up because, hey, doing good. Surprisingly, the GC did not go as poorly as I expected. Like, I think I have more people who would need therapy because of what happened against me than me needing therapy because of what happened to me in the GC. Like, the worst that happened, which honestly was way funnier than sad, was losing to Keyberry Houndstone. But like, I think I've had three games during the GC where I was supposed to lose, but I ended up winning or just having the game not count because of DCs at the very last second. Like, Scarlet and Violet are all programmed games. Yeah, I know that a few people here have filled the form, and there is a channel point redeem for 1 point that allows you to just straight up queue into the therapy session, and if you want to do that instead, basically I made a form before the start of the GC that allowed people to post what happened to them in the GC for the therapy if they couldn't make it. Basically, this form, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't recommend it if you're gonna be here because if I'm gonna eat. Okay, why is it not detecting? Oh. Okay, this is good. Okay, I fixed that. Okay, so this is a form, but basically, the main reason why I made the form in the first place is if someone can't make it, they can at least leave what happened to them in the GC. So that Because there are two ways we can do this. One is, well, this is the other. I've got two scenes. This is mine, and this is the one where the client, where whoever needs therapy is going to show up. And I'm either going to read the form, or if someone signs up using channel point redeem, there is one that you can see sign up for therapy for 1 channel point. Also, I'm going to remove because of what's going on. I'm going to remove especially because it's going to be mainly dependent on text to speech already as is. I'm going to remove the send TTS message redeem. I completely forgot about that one. But basically, you can sign up for therapy, and you're going to be on the couch, and any message that you're going to be sending while you're on the couch is going to show up, is going to be heard as text to speech, and we go as a back and forth for the therapy session. Or if you filled the form and you'd rather have the form, it's going to read it automatically instead. But basically, if it's a form, it's just going to be like, the response is going to be said, I'm going to comment on it, we move on to the next one. If anyone signs up for the therapy with the channel point redeem, I'm going to put you on the couch and we're going to go back and forth. You can talk as long as you want about your run. We're going to talk back and forth. We're going to have a short session. But if no one's going to use their channel point redeem, I'm going to start with the first response from the forum, which is actually JVGC, who's currently in the chat, or at least was in the chat earlier. Oh yeah, feel free, for anyone who's here, feel free to pick either one. If you want to go for last minute form response, I'll probably have to mess a bit because I have to download the form responses manually and then work from that, but that's fine. And now let's start with, okay, yeah, this. I should have made that button a bit bigger, like this. Now let's start with the first one.
So many mooks.
Not gonna lie, this is one of the things that is very annoying about the GC, but honestly, I think it's something that applies to basically any event, whether it's a local or regional or whatever. It's the fact that pairing luck plays such a huge part. I know that, for example, in Reg C GCs, or even Reg F, I ran into so many dozos. Like, people, like, on the last day, typically, at least 10 of my 15 games were dozo. There's no way there were that many dozos. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever... No, actually that's a lie. But throughout every GC I've played this gen, I've run into a total of 1 muck. Like, when I say every GC, I mean starting from 2023. I have played a total of 1 muck. It's not like I play every game of every GC. Like, for the Reg H one, for pretty much all of them, I've only played 30. But I've only played a single muck. I mean, you say it's a privilege, but I've played... Instead, like, all of my luck dodging those instead went into getting dozos. Way too many dozos. And not gonna lie, and the worst part is, for most of those GCs, I had basically 0 dozo matchup. It's something that I think I talked about it last therapy session, but it really feels like the GC intentionally tries to pair you into the worst matchups possible. I don't know about you, but it feels like they always try to pair you. It's either the very best matchups because you're the other person's worst matchup possible, or you get paired into your worst matchups possible. It feels like it's a magnet. They know. Like, they look at the team that you submitted and said, yeah, let's give them hell. So, what do I have to say about what to do about the mug problem. I think that there's only one thing I can say. I think I've got a prescription for you. You're gonna be using Ursaluna Blood Moon for the next GC. You're not gonna miss. You're not gonna miss if you're you can't miss if you're running Blood Moon, or if you're feeling. Ironically enough, if you wanted, ironically enough, if you want to deal with with Minimize better, run one of the Pokemon that are the most known for missing, Groudon. The heat crashes are gonna make it so you don't miss the Minimizes, and your damage is gonna be doubled. You're gonna be your prescription is one Blood Moon Ursaluna, or if there are no Blood Moon Ursalunas left, go for Groudon. Thank you for coming to the therapy session. And now, since from what I see, there's no one who joined the queue. No one used a redeem. I'm gonna go for the next person who filled the form. Okay, no, never mind. We've got Pro Fluffy who signed up. We just got a first person who signed up for a live session. So, Pro Fluffy, feel free to tell us all about your run. What troubled you this GC run?
Well, I did like 1 games and 1 like 2.
Wait, now I'm completely confused. What? Okay, 10 games. Well, wait, so you went 2 and 8? Okay, yeah, that's rough. So, what happened during those games? Like, I feel like you would have, knowing you, I would have expected that you'd at least go even at worst. Like, did you run into something weird, or were you just outplayed? Or was there luck involved? Was it completely out of left field?
I made the mistake of running AV Ice Horse.
The mistake of locking the wrong team. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate when early on you start realizing that you might have made a mistake. Not gonna lie, I felt very similar about how I went with this GC until day 3 completely recovered my self-confidence. Day 2 did not go well. Like, it felt like I kept hitting bad matchup after bad matchup, that the team felt outdated. So, but actually, why did you decide to run AVI Source? Like, was it just because you saw the teams from Japan Nats, or did I miss a meta development?
I also realized I just can't run Protect the President cores.
Yeah, that also doesn't help. I mean, I think also that with Reg G, it's also that the matchups can be quite dependent, and it's not necessarily like it's just like Protect the President as much as it's like it's a mix of Protect the President and you need to hit the right matchups. Because especially if you're completely dependent on Calyrex Ice. If the team is...
stole Underhill's team.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's where the AV Ice Horse came from. Did he run it this GC or the last GC? I don't remember. I don't remember what he ran last GC. And I know...
Both.
Oh, okay, so he ran it for both. Ah. Okay. Because I know that... Okay, so that's probably inspired by the Japanese teams, like, from Japan Nats last year. That makes sense. Yeah, then that makes sense. And knowing you, I know that you're quite a busy guy. And I feel like those Protect the President teams...
Also, not having time to play doesn't help, but just losing so many really tanked my confidence.
Yeah, Yeah, I get it. And like I was gonna say, like those types of teams are the kind of teams where you really need to know. Like I feel like it's a team that's heavily reliant on flowcharts, and for that you either need to have the flowchart already written and sent your way, or you need to play a lot of games to be comfortable with knowing what the flowcharts are like. And you seem like and knowing you're a busy man. So I'm not surprised that you probably were too busy to be able to get that practice in beforehand. On the bright side, this is the last GC for Reg G. So hopefully Reg I is going to be a good sign for you. Like, and I know it really tanked your confidence, but just remember that this was just one tournament.
Reggie is already feeling better.
That's good. That's really good to hear. Just remember that it is, and I think we all say that, and I think it's because it's true. We all have our ups and downs. One bad tournament run doesn't define you as a player. So, yes, this time might not have gone well. Like, it sounds like you locked a team that you didn't really gel with, which is quite unfortunate, and you really shouldn't take the poor result to heart. Like, you're not really gonna push yourself. You're not really gonna take yourself to the next level if you don't push yourself out of your comfort zone, and that's what you did. So it might not have worked out this time, but it's probably gonna help you in the future. You think that you've got more to say about your run, or did you talk about everything that you wanted to?
Yeah, I understand, Kali. I weigh more now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Like, I think it was actually Alexander Hill who said that. Or, I know I definitely heard a player that basically said that one of the best ways to understand how to beat an archetype is to run it yourself. So, the fact that you ran it, sounds like it helped you with that, actually. Which is really good. Or maybe even in the future, like in Reg I, it might help you run a team with Calyrex Ice. Like, it's not surprising that a new Pokemon that you haven't really run before might feel a bit awkward. And again, I feel like also AV Calyrex Ice might be a bit weird to run, even compared to standard Calyrex Ice. I know I probably would struggle a bit.
That was basically my run this time. The next GC, I'm getting top 4.
That's the spirit. You've got this. You've got this. I can't wait. I can't wait to see you next time, and not needing therapy. I can't wait to hear about you next therapy session, not because you need it, but because your opponents needed it. That's what I'm hoping for. Do you have anything more to say about your run, or do we move on to the next person or the form?
We can move on.
Alright, perfect. Oh, Xilpi. Thanks for the raid. So I did not... I only realized now that I didn't put the alerts clone here. So for people who don't... so for the people who come here for the raid, I just wanted to tell... basically what's going on right now is... This weekend, there was a big tournament, a big VGC tournament called the Global Challenge that has multiple thousands of people participating in it, that has best of one closed team sheets. So people often run into a lot of very, very weird stuff that often just leaves some mental scars. So to help people cope, since the tournament just ended, I'm hosting a therapy session to help people cope with it. And it's a channel point redeemed to join the queue. Otherwise, I also have a form. I also have a form that Actually, I could pin it in case someone just wants to do a one and done. Alright, Zopi. Welcome to therapy. What has been bothering you? I don't think you played the global challenge, but I think that you've got some stuff to share.
Have he ever told you the definition of insanity?
No, you have not told me. I know the definition from Albert Einstein, but I don't know if you've got a variation of that. Feel free to share. And is it?
It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yes. Oh yeah, that is the Albert Einstein definition. Yes, that is in fact, that is a well-known definition of insanity. And I'm guessing that you're pointing that out because it applies to your current situation?
And it's also my job.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. Well, at least you've got a job. Well, then again, technically I'm your GC therapist now. I don't talk about my salary because you don't want to hear about my salary. Like, talking about my salary is probably worthy of its own therapy session, but so let's not get into that.
This may not be related to the global challenge.
It sounds like it's not, but you know what? At this point, I think that the Pokemon community as a whole has needed a therapist for way too long. Unfortunately, it is probably the least qualified person possible, but we've got one. So, did you have more that you wanted to talk about your problems, or was that basically it? The queue is small, but I still have a few people who filled the form.
Vita, I'm looking for something.
I'm glad. Do you know how close it is or not? Nah, you know what? It hasn't been long enough for me to try to run an ad.
You have spent 3 months inside a sewer.
Oh god. Yeah, okay. You've spent 3 months inside a sewer trying to become Batman and failing to become Batman. You remember when I said that I'd give some horrible advice, but have you tried becoming an orphan?
You have encountered a total of 2579 critters.
Yeah, I've heard your stories. You've tried to become Batman. And... yeah, You know that Batman is an orphan. Do you have loving parents?
Parents, yes, loving. Not so much. So your it counts.
You know, I don't even know if Batman's parents were loving or not. I did not know enough about DC Comics to confirm that. But I do know that he was an orphan. So that might help. So, if you lose your parents, you might be able to become Batman. And that is not some advice. Also, I've received some news from a certain guy who works at the Pokemart.
Anyway, he found every single Pokemon in that sewer as shiny.
Every Wait, why did the TTS not pick the last message? Well, you know what they say. 90% of gamblers quit before hitting it big. So if you don't quit, you're gonna hit. If you quit, the next encounter would have been the shiny Zubat. And I don't know if you want to... I've heard from a guy who works at the Pokemart that you might be dealing with problems involving arson. Did you want to talk about that? Or do you want to keep quiet about that? Because I feel like that might also be cause for therapy if you're dealing with a constant threat of arson. Or that you think you might be dealing with problems involving arson.
Oh yeah, uno forgot to turn off the stove.
Oh. So let me fix that. Let me fix... Where is the text-to-speech handler? Okay, yeah, I think I know what happened. Okay, yeah, that should fix it. Okay, so you just forgot to turn off the stove. You know, that is truly unfortunate. At least on the bright side, I thought it might have been just because you were under threat from something. But if that's what you needed the burning heals for, like as much as it's truly tragic that you had to deal with that, I'm happy that it's not that you're in any form of danger or threat from someone. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about on today's session, or are you saving that for a future session?
One of the encounters that uno got a 10% chance of appearing.
Hey, you know?
The bat is a 45%.
You know? I think that it might be a sign. Not necessarily that the
Guess
bat...
who shined first?
The 10%. And I think it might have just been a sign from the bat that they didn't just want you to get the bat, but a journey to get every single Pokemon from that sewer. To make sure that once you're gone from that sewer, you're never coming back. You know, some places are places that you're never going to want to go back to. And a sewer is definitely one of those. That's what the Zubat is trying to tell you.
That's the thing.
What's the thing?
You know for sure he'll be going back.
Why would you go back?
Like at least once each season.
Are you truly gonna create the Bat Cave by having a million Zubats?
There is an area which you have to be in.
You know, I think I'm starting to... I think
And
I'm...
the only way to get there is through that specific sewer.
You know? I'm really wondering what was a Game Freak's obsession with sewers. What are people's obsession with sewers in the first place? Like, do they love the move Muddy Water that much? Is that what Muddy Water is supposed to be? Is it supposed to be sewer water?
I don't have an obsession with sewers. I have an obsession with green baths.
Are you trying to start a global pandemic all over again? We've already had enough this decade. We don't need another global pandemic.
RN.
Do I want an answer about this one? Do I want to know the answer about the global pandemic? About you wanting to start a global pandemic? Am I just going to assume...
Some things are better to be kept unknown.
You know what? On that note, I'm gonna stop this session here because I think that as a professional, I might have to call the cops if we keep this going. I feel like I'm starting to breach into territory that neither of us was to touch. I wish you best of luck to find your bat. And a bit less luck with starting a global pandemic. Thank you for coming to GC therapy. Oh, okay, we've got someone else. Goodbye. Oh my god, I wish I didn't cut that because that would have been a perfect way to end it. And we've got a next client. And we've got a next person needing of therapy. Hello, Waffles. Welcome to therapy.
Why is every ice horse in prison?
So, let me take a guess. Were you running Ice Horse? I think that locking imprison Ice Horse.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like running Ice Horse inherently makes you an Ice Horse magnet. I know that when he told me that story, he was laughing so hard, and I feel like he wouldn't mind if I shared that story. But you guys know Audie from Tub, right? He ran Ice Rider all of 2022, and he at NAIC in 2022 he went 1-3 drop. He faced 2 imprisoned Calyrex Ices. First, one of the 2 basically said, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of your content."
We ran my Vancouver team. I didn't even run into that many, but all of them were in prison.
And basically, he just ran into every single imprisoned Ice Rider. I think that, you know, the more I hear about people's runs, the more I believe my theory that they intentionally pair you into the worst matchups possible. I don't know if it's supposed to be a test of character or just trying to prove that you're just built different. I mean, I think that so many people just run into the worst possible matchups so frequently that it can't be a coincidence. I might have to do we might have to do an investigation. But it is crazy. Like, I know that last GC, Adiu talked about how every Calyrex Ice was Terra normal, and now you're telling me that as an Ice Rider player ran into all of the imprisoned? Then again, I feel like if you're not running Ice Rider, you won't ever know if the opposing Calyrex was imprisoned anyway.
Also, getting sick during the weekend didn't help my play.
Oh, yeah, getting sick definitely is gonna hurt you. Yeah, the Pokemon video, I found out it's gonna take quite a bit of rework. Mainly because I didn't realize how bad the audio is, and a lot of parts were out of sync, so I'm gonna have to redo some parts. But basically, I've done the first cut. I've done the first cut of it, and I'm gonna... Like, it's on its way.
Who's that Pokemon?
Oh, ad break. Yeah, because therapy sessions have ads now. Of course. Welcome to the Dystopia, sponsored.
1490, and ended on Discharge Iron Moth. At least that was funny.
Wait, Iron Moth gets discharge? And yeah, getting sick during the weekend definitely wouldn't help. Getting sick definitely hurts the play. Man, I didn't know that Iron Moth got discharge. Like, was there more to it? Was it just a random Terra Ground pair to it? Was it on a Groudon team? I need to know more. Discharge Iron Moth, there's no way that Discharge Iron Moth was the only thing. Right? There had to be more. Like, that's the kind of team where there is no way that the only thing is Discharge Iron Moth. Although, to be fair, they might not have shown the rest. But I won't believe you for telling me that that was the only weird thing on that team. Probably the weirdest? Sure. Or the only part that you remember? Also fair.
It's
Drifblim.
So yeah, was it really only Discharge Iron Moth on that team? Because I feel like you tell me Discharge Iron Moth, and there's probably more to it than that. At least in my experience, every single team that I've seen with an extremely weird choice like that has at least one or two more weird choices. Like, I ran into Earthquake Iron Hands, which was followed immediately by Pain Split Fluttermane. But, you know, I will say that, unfortunately, like, on the bright side, if you need the points, I think that you're going to be okay. Because you got sick, so obviously you're not going to play at your 100%. And there's a GC's bit.
Moonburst Noivern, Orangura, Bastiodon, and Necrozma Duskmane.
Oh my god, okay. Yeah, I knew that it wasn't going to be the only thing. There was no way. That is hilarious. That is amazing. Since I really noticed that you didn't mention the result, did you end on a win or a loss?
I won.
Okay, thank God. Because I was gonna guess that based on what it sounded like, you probably would have won. Like, you sound good enough that you probably would have won, but it definitely is the kind of team where sometimes you expect to win, but you still don't. Like, there's just something that goes wrong, you just get caught off guard or
I decided
something.
to click wide guard because funny, and I saw Discarge.
I love when funny decisions work. A few people here, I think, saw my run and they saw that I went for some funny plays that just ended up working. Remember that when in doubt, go for the funny. It works more often than it should. And yet, was it mainly just running into bad matchups? Or not playing too well because you were sick? Or did you also start to tilt? Because I feel like falling to 1490 has probably had some tilt involved. Or was it just like things didn't work in your favor, or you just realized, yeah, this isn't my weekend, and you just decide to cut your losses early? Because, you know, sometimes it's completely fine to realize that, yeah, this is not your weekend. You can do better things this weekend and just take a break.
Tilting a bit near the end, and Sansir also didn't want to connect.
Sansir missing. A tell is old this time. Yeah, I get that. I got that a lot too. It's so weird. It never connects, and then the moment when you accept it's never gonna hit, it starts hitting. I think that's the main thing. You have to completely stop trusting Sansir, and then it's gonna give you a moment, and then it's gonna start making you trust it. But then it's gonna betray you when you need it the most. So honestly, the main thing is you need to accept that the moment you put Sansir on
I've
your
won a
team.
lot of games I lost. That's something I can work on.
You know, that at least it was a learning experience. You figured out that there were multiple ways that from the games that you played, you figured out how you could have played better, which is in the long run way more important than getting the immediate wins. Like, getting a win is good. Being able to win consistently, way better. You know, that's something that I said last therapy session, and it is still applicable here. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It is going to you're not going to see results immediately, or if you do, they might not always be the most consistent. You have to accept that it is a long getting good is a process that takes time. So, you know, if it's something that you can work on, go for it. Most of the losses mainly...
Last story, almost lost to Scarf Miraiden, but my opponent decided to not target my Ursh, so I won.
Scarf Miraidon, you know, I was going to say I'm very surprised about Scarf Miraidon, but I feel like I've heard so many people talk about Scarf Miraidon, and I'm more surprised that I haven't run into any of them. I haven't run into a single Scarf Miraidon. That's another weird one. Or I feel like it might be weirder that that's my reaction to this. Also, no one else found the infinite food glitch. I did share the glitch to someone, but no one else discovered it. So, Scarf Miraidon, hey, on the bright, that's also one thing that you need to keep in mind when playing in matches, like especially GCs, but just in general. But I feel like with best of 1 closed team sheets, it happens way more because people are gonna try to keep into account way more possibilities than what there actually are. I think with open team sheets, the fact that you have more information means that you're more likely to make the optimal play, but you can always play into a choke. One thing that's very important to learn for GCs is that your opponent might and probably will choke at some point. So recognizing how they can choke and how you can win from a choke is a very important skill that you can learn and that you should learn. It's probably something that comes with experience, but it's something to keep in mind if you think you lost. That, yes, you probably lost, but there is still a chance. There is still a chance because your opponent might just mess up. Like, if you think that you lost because you messed up, remember that you're also facing a human. And that means that they can also mess up. There are a lot of people who will mess up. You are not an exception. They are not an exception. As long as you don't see loss on your trainer card at the end, you still have a shot. So keep that in mind. Even if you think that you lost, even though you probably lost, and that there might not be any chokes possible, remember that this is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Your opponent might DC at the very end of the match, giving you the win. Never give up. Keep the dream alive. Because it never truly is over. So that was the last thing you wanted to share? Or did you have more about the GC? Yes, I had at least 3 opponents that were supposed to beat me, but...
No, that's everything.
Alright. The only thing I can really recommend you which honestly is not really in your control, is don't get sick next GC. From what it sounds like, for everything else that happened during your GC run, it sounds like, sure, it did not go ideally, but you're learning. And the fact that you're learning means that you're gonna get there. You're gonna get the results that you want as long as you keep at it. The only the only short-term thing that could affect your result is not getting sick, which that's life, really. So I can't wait to see. I hope to hear about you next. Just like with Pro Fluffy. I hope that I hear from you again next therapy session. Not as someone who needs a therapy, but because because other people need therapy because of what you did. And do we have someone else in queue? No, I don't think there is. Yeah, I crashed it. Oops. We should be fine anyway. Like, I'm gonna need like a second or two. Okay, yeah, the fact that I crashed it. Yeah, you buying 3 Pi escape ropes. No, it was Pi Great Balls, and then you selling 0.69 Great Balls. Which is probably even funnier. Especially with you saying, yeah, it's the left half. You sold the left half of a Great Ball. If someone can explain that one, please do. I don't know how you cut a Pokeball in half, like, vertically. So
So many mooks.
that was one that we already read, but I had to go through it that way, and now we're going through the next one.
A Specs Flutter crit my Incin with Power Gem, leaving Life Orb Calyrex to ravage my team.
That is unfortunate. But in the grand scheme of things, I see that everyone has a loss like that, where you get either a Vital Miss, a Vital Crit. Yes, that's what the doc is for. Yeah, I'll skip yours. Because, like I told other people, what the forum is for people who weren't able to be here, who wanted to still share their stories. And since you were here and you did yours, and you already did your story, we're good. So, basically, the thing is, the main thing that you can do is, well, sometimes you're definitely gonna be unlucky and you're gonna lose, and not much you can do from there. Like, that's what it sounds like from there. Maybe you could have worked to have a contingency plan to cover for a crit, because a lot of the time you can have a backup in case a worst case scenario happens, but sometimes, either because the matchup is bad or because you've made a mistake earlier in the game, that isn't the case. And that's fine. You're going to lose some. You're going to lose some to luck. Especially over 45 games. You're at least going to lose a few to luck. The main thing you can do is make sure that you don't tilt heading into the next game. Like, I think that's... I had a friend earlier who told me about... They tuned into my stream for the GC. They saw the game where the Kyogre froze my Ogerpon for 3 turns, and then they left immediately saying, yeah, I don't need that kind of bad luck for my regional run. Which, unfortunately for them, they were not any luckier than I was. But you're going to be unlucky for some games. You're going to be lucky for some. I'm not going to pretend that I was only unlucky this GC. I had some games where I definitely brought my... Well, yeah, of course, I talk about how I was lucky with DCs. That alone more than makes up for whatever in-game bad luck happened to me. So, the only thing you can do really is make sure that you don't let the bad luck get to you heading into the next game. You don't have an infinite amount of games, so make each of them count. The last game doesn't count. The only game that counts is the one that you're currently playing. The next game also doesn't count. The only thing that matters is the one that's right in front of you. That's what you should be focusing on. And obviously, like, in this case, I know that it's not necessarily that I don't have any more context. They might have gone over it without any issue. But, yes, that is unfortunate. But it is something that happens to everyone. Now, let's move on to the next form response, unless someone else wants to join the Q4 therapy.
I once had my opponent lead hand CSR, and they belly drummed and trick roomed in front of my Mirai and Whimsicott, and I had never been swagged on so hard in my life.
You know, I don't think I can comment on this. Like, yeah, that is just art. I'm so sorry I'm so sorry that you ran into the coolest person ever. I don't think I can say more than that. Like, yeah. And you know what's very unfortunate when you run into a team like that? It's the fact that, yeah, you know that this is the only time you're ever gonna run into it, but it's not gonna stop you that the moment you're gonna see Iron Hands and CSR, you're automatically gonna think about that time you lost to that combo specifically, and you're gonna make sure you're never gonna lose to it again. You're never... Like, at this point, I think that if you lose to something like this, I only have one bit of advice, which is very irresponsible and definitely not something that you should actually do. But you should just drink so much that you forget about that match. That way, it's not gonna affect you in the future. You're not gonna say, yeah, this is about to be belly drum trick room the moment you see your Iron Hands Calyrex lead. Because you should not have that thought automatically the moment you see that lead. You're probably never gonna run into that exact turn 1 ever again. So you should not be thinking about that. But the moment you lose to something like that, that is the first thing that's gonna come to your mind. Hey, you should know that this is not you should know that I'm not a professional. But once again, you really should not take this you are going to lose every once in a while to something like that. I don't really have much to, like, okay, your opponent definitely styled on you hard. You might be part of a compilation somewhere. Like, if you think I make montages, that person might have made a montage out of you. And I'm sorry for that. And I will say also that, yeah, it just happens. It is, sometimes you just have to cut your losses. They're gonna get you hard. And yeah, they just got you. I'm sorry. Don't think I've got much more to say. So let's move on to the next submission.
First 7 games of the GC. 3 Swagger Grimmsnarl and 2 Toxic Spike Sneasler stall.
Remember earlier? I remember earlier when I said that it sounds like the GC intentionally pairs you to the worst matchups possible? Yeah, I stand by that. Okay, like, the 3 Swagger Grimmsnarls are just 3 people who just didn't want you to have a good time. They're just evil people. Don't worry, they probably don't have friends. So you're fine. Don't worry about that. Like, at the end of the day, you're still a true winner at life. Probably. At least I hope so. If you're not, I'm sorry. And we might need another session for that. That's probably a separate session. For the 2 Toxic Spikes Sneasler, that is very unfortunate. Because I wouldn't be surprised if the last Victory Road tournament might have been the reason why those people ran Toxic Spikes Sneasler, considering that Toxic Spike Sneasler finished second at the VR tour. And that might have inspired some people to run the exact same thing, but with single restricted instead of double restricted. So, if I had any advice, it would be to control time to make sure that the GC doesn't happen at a very, very bad timing for you when it comes to your team and handling the new meta trends. So, yeah, learn to... So, I guess my only advice is to invent time travel, really. You know, simple enough. Wait, you were running Toxic Spike Sneasler and Reggie? With what? Why? And what? With what? Were you also a Dozo? Were you a Dozo player? Okay, you might need a therapy session with because you're a Dozo player. That alone is probably enough of for a therapy session. Although based on what I've seen, you might have changed your ways. Okay, yeah, okay, you're fine. You did not stray from the light for too long. You're okay. And now let's move on to the next one.
I used Mewtwo, but it was fun. I'm never using it again. Mewtwo, huh? Oh, wait, why do you need therapy because you use Mewtwo, but you had fun? You know? I don't think you need therapy if you had fun playing the game. You might be the first person that I've had here who's actually enjoyed playing the GC. No, you might not be the only one. That's a lie. That's a bit of an exaggeration. But you're one of the few people who's actually enjoyed playing a GC. And like, if I had anything to say, is that maybe you should run Mewtwo again if you had a great time. Because having a good time while playing a GC is a rare gift. If you're gonna enjoy it with something else though, go ahead. But keep that in mind in the future. Endeavor Weems. It forces me to respect Weems so much when half the time it's just a standard set, but if I ever forget that Endeavor is an option, I'm getting swept. Oh my god.
Yes. Whimsicott. For this one, I'm gonna share a secret about Whimsicott. It's not really advice as much as it is a secret. Whimsicott always runs Covert Cloak and Focus Sash at the same time, and runs Protect, Tailwind, Encore, Taunt, Misty Terrain, Moonblast, Endeavor, Cotton Spore, and Sunny Day. All at the same time. You're only just gonna see the item that's gonna ruin your game the most and the 4 moves that's going to ruin your game the most. So, I hope that you know that Whimsicott in Closed Team Sheet is very fun. And I hope that this advice is gonna help you with your success in the future. Because Whimsicott is a well-designed Pokemon, surely. And that Prankster Dynamic Speed was a great idea. Along with Covert Cloak, especially in Closed Team Sheets. Oh yeah, and I forgot. It's also Terra Fire, Terra Ghost, Terra Dark, Terra Water, Terra Steel? Terra Normal, all at the same time. Whichever one is the worst one possible for you, once again.
And the Arubega team is always going to be the most janky variant that's going to ruin your day possible. Although you're not going to have to deal with Arubega in GCs anymore, so congrats on that. Yeah, if I had anything to prescribe you, it's to run teams that have a good matchup into Whimsicott team. Actually, no. If I have one thing that I would recommend to you, it's Dual Wing beats Talonflame. That's going to get rid of the Whimsicott. It's not going to be good against anything else, but that's going to strike fear into the Whimsicott player's heart, making sure that the Whimsicott is not brought. When you think about it, Dual Wing beat Talonflame is just going to straight up KO the Whimsicott before it can do anything. So it's really what you need when you think about it. And, yeah, that basically covers everything in the form. So, is there anyone else who wants to do any form, is there anyone else who wants to sign up for therapy? Or are we done? And if anyone wants to kill time, like if anyone wants to do a session for anything that isn't just, if anyone wants to do a session that isn't necessarily GC related, feel free. Like, I know I called it GC therapy, but like I said last session, this is, Pokemon has needed a therapist for too long, so might as well do some extra duty. Oh my... Oh, hi, Zoro. Thanks for the raid. Like, this is a short... Like, this was... Actually, I'm gonna explain what's going on, although it was pretty close to ending, but maybe some people would be interested. This weekend was a big... Oh, hey, Pop. But basically, this weekend was a very big online VGC tournament called the Global Challenge. That... thanks for the follow, A-Pop. And a few thousands of people are participating in it, and because a lot of people are often either hit with the worst luck possible, the worst matchups they can run into are just very, very weird teams. So people often do not have a good time playing it, but because it is very important for people trying to qualify for Worlds, they are forced to. And I realized that, okay, it is so bad that people probably need therapy for this, and I started, at the end of the last Global Challenge, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start doing therapy session streams after the Global Challenges, and this is what's going on right now. Oh, I didn't know that chess had that. I'm not too surprised. I feel like it's probably something similar in a lot of competitive games. And yeah, basically, I made a form at the start of the Global Challenge for people who couldn't be here but still wanted to share their stories. I went through that. And I also made some people sit in the chair to talk about their runs. And yeah, basically, like I told people, if you're dealing with anything, like if you just need a session, there's a channel point reward for 1 channel point that's going to push you in queue to get in the chair, and I'm ready to do a session. I am not a professional. Do not take anything I say to heart. The advice that I might give, if I don't have any actual good advice to give, I'm probably going to give some intentionally bad one. Just for the sake of being funny. Yes.
Narrative Now is going to show you how it works. So, Narrative Now, do you have anything to say for this therapy session? I know that you had quite an extensive one last time. So I don't know if you've got more to say. I don't even know if you played the GC this time. Did you actually? Okay, I know you were talking about it. Like, I know you talked about you weren't sure if you wanted to or not. I think it was on Ryan's. Okay, it bugged out a bit. Like, I saw it flash. Because basically what I... Oh, okay, yeah, the bridge disconnected, that's why. Okay, yeah, we should be good. Basically, like, the software I use automatically disconnected, so that's why the TTS didn't work and it just flashed on and off. You know what? I don't blame you for dodging the GC and just playing Reg I and VGC 11. You know what, actually? How have those formats been? Like, I know that VGC 11 is one that, for some reason, people don't really talk much about. And I know that, well, yeah, Reg I is one that people have had very strong feelings, like, both for and against it already. But I haven't really had the time to touch it yet.
Reg I is okay. 2011 is honestly worse than 2016.
That bad, huh? Okay, since I know that most people have not touched VGC 2016, it is probably...
Wait, add hell.
Oh, add hell? Wait, what? Oh! Yeah, that makes sense. Because Sammy crashed, it didn't detect the fact that it's running hell.
About a minute left.
Okay, funnily enough, I know that...
At Pro Fluffy, have you played the current 2011 ladder?
Funnily enough, Daniel, Narrative Now was talking, I think it was on Friday, about running Drudigon in VGC 11. So, you're not the only one. And yeah, one thing that's also very weird, like compared to... Because basically, the software I used for a lot of the interactions crashed earlier.
Okay, we back.
Okay, cool. So basically, for a bit more context, usually I know when the ads are going on because I have... Actually, I'm gonna do it in a way that doesn't automatically trigger ads, although I don't think it's gonna let... But basically, I have a Who's That Pokemon at the start of the ad break, and then it shows a Pokemon at the end of it. That normally happens. And it just starts keeping track automatically of ads after the stream starts. But because it crashed, it stops tracking that. And usually I'll use that as a reference to be able to tell, are people in ad or not? But yeah, that because it crashed, it stops keeping track properly. And okay, so and for more context about about talking about VGC 2016, this is not VGC 2016 is considered by a lot of people who played back then to be the worst VGC format of all time. Mainly because it was a very volatile format where a lot Smeargle made a lot of matches very luck dependent, and a lot of matches also came down to speed ties with moves that were not accurate. So probably one of the most RNG based formats of all time. On top of being one of the most centralized ones.
The current ladder format is a rock, paper, scissors between Scarf Jellicent, Scarf Terrakion, and Scarf Hydreigon.
Okay, that is... Okay, that is funny and not something that sounds like a great time. So yeah, in the end you decide to not play the GC. Congrats on that.
Are you gonna play much more VGC 11, or you're gonna just call it there and then?
I think I'll keep struggling in the format.
You know what?
Because
Fair enough.
everyone is struggling.
Okay, so basically, as long as you know that everyone else is suffering, you're down to suffer too. I don't know if I took the wrong conclusion from that or not, but that sounds like the conclusion I should be taking from that. So, how about... Yeah, so
People have resorted to running Blizzard without hail on their Jellicent.
to deal with the Scarf Hydreigons? Okay, that is certainly a way to deal with that.
Yes, sir.
Oh god. That definitely does sounds like an experience. Is Conk just not enough to deal with it? I feel like Conkeldurr would be quite good.
At least Zebstrika is pretty fun RN.
Oh wait, Zebstrika? That's not a Pokemon expected to be used. Honestly, that's interesting.
Zeb handles Scarf Jelly and walls Thundy and Torn.
I mean, I'm not too surprised that 2011 was still the Wild West. I feel like, then again, I'm not really sure when I'd say that it's really stopped being the Wild. Oh, you know what? 2014 would make sense actually. I was gonna say, like, I'm not sure when it really stopped being the Wild West, but 2014 does make sense. Like, I think that it makes sense considering it's probably the first time where, like, 2013 was the first time where Worlds was properly streamed.
2013 feels like a true meta.
You know what? That's actually true. Like, at least it developed into a proper one, for sure. Like, probably the fact that it went for, like, I'm not gonna say it's the same meta, but a very similar meta lasted from 2012 and through 2013 probably helped it develop into a proper one. So that makes sense. Like, even if we say that the meta developed more slowly, like
Yeah, maybe.
like the fact that it took that long probably helped. But yeah, 2013 definitely felt complete when you talk about, like, it definitely felt like a true meta. I also don't, I know, to be fair, like, I feel like 2013 definitely has a lot more info out there compared to 2014, which doesn't help. Or at least, that's part of what I think helps make it feel more like a true meta. And I think that, yeah, the fact that it had more time helped, because when you...
Anyway, the real reason 2011 sucks because every match comes down to RNG.
You know what? I'm not surprised. When I think about it, like, of a lot of the changes that they've made over the years has reduced the RNG by quite a bit. Yeah, I agree, Daniel. Like, that's just old VGC. I think that that's one of the things that they've done a very good job of recently, like, just making sure that while not completely taking away RNG, they definitely have done a good job of making it less of a factor. Yeah, I don't think...
Torn and Thundy speed tie. Whims/Zeb/Scarf Jelly Speed Tie. Scarf Tarakian has flinches. Some Whimsicott run swagger just cuz.
Man, that is crazy. Yeah, you know what? Like, I'm surprised about the amount of different speed ties.
And of course the aforementioned blind blizzards.
Yeah. I know what? You've done a very good job of convincing me to not play VGC 2011. I know that was your goal, but good job. It worked. It sounds like I will just probably slowly aim for, like, slowly learn VGC Regai soon. I think that sounds like the way to go. And this is the VGC
I
2017.
think its saving grace is it forces you to optimize your leads.
I already have hair on my chest, though. I'm not short on hair in general. I'm not short on hair in general. I might have more hair than a gorilla. Yeah. So anyone needs therapy, or are we talking about old formats again? Like, it's one of those weird things, I think. And when I think about it, about old formats, one of the weird things is how when two formats are quite similar, people just completely disregard, like, completely forget about some of them. Like 2014 and 2014.5, we only thought, like, and it makes sense that we only talk about 2014 or only play 2014. Or, for example, with 2019, Sun and Moon series are now completely relics of the past, and no one actually plays those anymore. Like, it's only Ultra series that see any visibility in general. Like, I feel like 2018, some people might have...
EW Ultra Series.
I like Ultra series, but I feel like it would be cool also to play every once in a while, to play Sun and Moon series every once in a while.
It's oversaturated.
And another one that I think would be interesting to mess around with.
The one that got really shafted was 2018.
Exactly what I was about to say. One that I feel like I would have wanted to mess with is 2018 Pre-Intimidate Incineroar. I think that 2018 Pre-Intimidate Incineroar had more interesting team comps. Instead of being like, Incin bad, it's just that the things that got better because of Incin, I think, were more annoying, like especially Mega Gengar. I'm not a fan of Mega Gengar, and I think that it was way stronger once the Incin got Intimidate. I'm just not a fan of Shadow Tag in general. Like, people talk about Wolf getting Perish Song nerfed. I hope that it gets Shadow Tag nerfed instead. Please.
In Timoror, let me use Sun Pledges.
Another one that could have been interesting is 2017 pre-bank, but I don't think it actually matters as much as I want to pretend it is. Like, it definitely made a splash, but I don't think, like, late format, there's that many egg moves that were still used all that much.
What changes with bank accessibility?
I forgot which move that Snorlax gets. I know that there's a viable one that it gets. I forgot which one. I know that, I think it's Curse that Gigalith gets. I know that Gigalith gets something. Drifblim got Tailwind.
BRB, I'll look it up.
I know that, yeah, with a big, like, at least in the short term after bank release, the big one was Tailwind Drifblim. Which, I would say that Drifblim did not have a very long-lasting impact. Like, it definitely had an impact for a few months, but by the end of 2017, it wasn't really relevant anymore.
Wait, damn, nothing learned Tailwind except Aura's move tutor Drifblum's, huh?
Yeah. I mean, there was Mandibuzz. There was Oricorio. But even Oricorio, I don't even think ran Tailwind that much. I know I didn't run it. Like, as probably Oricorio's strongest soldier, I did not even running it.
I think late 2017 Blim was still legit. I ran late 2017 Blim.
I'll to be fair, I don't think that my variant was that good either to begin with. So, like, I'm definitely biased. Because, like, I know that my variant was, like, a good meta call, but not necessarily great. Like, all things considered. But I think that people figured out, like, I think that Drifblim was just an archetype that just forced you to play a bit too offensively in, again, compared to Mandibuzz. And I think that people figured out how to play against it quite quickly. But I also had Tid as a local, which meant that, yeah, I would not be able to survive that.
It did get really limiting after Worlds.
Yeah. Oh god, I'm starting to realize how short the playlist is. I can't believe that I've subjected you guys to 8 hours of this for April Fools.
BC, you needed Tailwind, Shadow Ball, Support Move, and one of Rain Dance or Sunny Day.
Ha, you ran Shadow Ball. Couldn't be me. I ran Acrobatics. I'm probably the only person who got a result with Acrobatics Drifblim. I hated Pheromosa too much.
Stinky.
Pheromosa Stinky. Like, the thing is, what did Shadow Ball actually, you know what? No, that makes sense later in the format because Metagross was actually a Pokemon. Because I was gonna say, like, what does Shadow Ball actually hit that Acro didn't? That was actually relevant, or did the amount of damage was actually relevant enough to matter? And yeah, you know what? Like, I ditched the team before Metagross really became a thing again. So fair enough. Later in the format, Metagross was too relevant to really say that.
I'm running Psychic Seed on the damn thing.
I mean, the thing is, against opposing Lele's, the amount of damage between Acrobatics and Shadow Ball is not that big. Because yes, I was also running Lele, but yeah, the difference in damage between Shadow Ball and Acrobatics was not that big of a deal.
About to post calcs.
Because the thing is, maybe it's a 2-hit KO, but you don't really target it twice. You're putting it in range of the other Pokemon basically every time. So it didn't really matter. And also being able to do damage to P2 and Snorlax, while not necessarily being the main priority, was also a nice bonus. Instead of just sitting in front of it and doing nothing. You know, keep looking for the calcs. I'm gonna have to go for like a minute or two. Yeah, I was okay with the 5%
Okay,
difference.
I'll concede it's comparable if you're okay with a whole 5% difference.
And I was fine with that 5% difference. Like, it did not matter anything in the long run. Like I said, like it was comparable. Sure, it was a bit less, but it did not really affect the calcs in the long run. But yes, I will admit that, yeah, later in the format, I don't think I can...
ATK Driftlim Acrobatics, 110 BP, versus 4 HP/0 Def Tapu Lele, 67 to 79, 45.8 to 54.1%, 45.31% chance to 2 HKO.
But yeah, I would say though that later on, I have to concede that Metagross was too relevant to really justify Acrobatics. Like, one of the main things that Acrobatics hit for more was not enough to justify. Because like, the main ones I would say were Buzz.
Yes, I did post that just so the TTS would read it.
No, what? That's fair. And yeah, basically, like, I can say that, yeah, Metagross is the big one. Like, the main thing that Acrobatics hit were like the normal types, which again, you didn't necessarily hit for that hard. To be fair, Acrobatics and Psychium Z Lele was a guaranteed KO on Porygon 2 if you weren't in terrain. No matter the EV spread. Which actually did come in handy at least once. And yeah, hitting Pheromosa and Buzzwole. But yeah, all of that did not necessarily matter as much as Metagross later on. I think that basically covers it for this therapy session, unless we've got more to talk.
Agreed.
So, you know what? Like, do I have anyone currently live that I can raid into that would make sense?
It was just some old heads reminiscing.
Yeah, like, the second half was basically that, and the first half was actual therapy. So, you know, mainly because I know that we've got some non-VGC people, I'm gonna head into someone who does a lot of cool, like, interesting streams in general, and just like, if I could, I'd try to stall until Shindigs is live to raid into him, but I don't think I'll be able to. But this guy also does a lot of cool stuff. So I'll send you guys his way. I don't know when it'll next be live or what I'll be doing. I've got a few things in mind, but I have to do some work to get them working first. So I'll see you guys next time.